So, I mean,
Merch Minds Podcast episode number 93. Very special guest today, right, Yong?
Very special. We have Matt and RJ from the Real Talk podcast. Guys, it seems like it's just 2 days since we talked. It really does.
it's amazing
now we have no clue.
I
said we have no clue what we're gonna ask you now.
Just... No, what? Hey, man, look.
Let's redo that intro again. You guys messed up.
Matt, this is your first time. Why don't you guys go ahead and just do a quick intro and let people know who you are?
I was talking about Shopify originally, and I saw him start talking about this thing, merch. And I was like, what the fuck is this merch thing? And that's how we connected. And now suddenly, we talk every single day, probably more than anybody I talk to in the community. And then we started up a show at the beginning of the year. It's called Real Talk, where it's basically us just talking, talking shit, going back and forth, interviewing people with merch, and we just have a good time with it.
Okay, so before merch, you never had a YouTube channel, right?
No, never have.
So just out of curiosity, what made you start your channel?
Well, a lot of people were just asking me questions, and I was like, I can't.
Are you drinking milk?
He got kind of like a weird reaction to it. What didn't they like about it?
Oh, I'm not even sure. Probably just
to get to know the individual, right? Besides
sure,
just let's learn how to do merch. Like, you also want to know about the person. So I find that really interesting. Maybe it's just you. You ever think about that? I mean, again, I'm no expert, but I would think, regardless of what kind of channel you have, you also want to let the people know that you're a real person and that you do have a normal life. And I don't know. That's just me.
I think Young's right. I actually think that you should keep vlogging, because here's the thing, man. You want to start establishing, at the end of the day, right? Like your channel is your end. It is who you are, and you want to start making connections with those people. You want to, be able to have those people spread the word, everything else. So if you're losing people because you're vlogging about yourself and who you are, well, fuck them, whatever, man.
Yeah, you probably don't need those subscribers anyway. So,
but the thing is, though, too, is the views is one of the most important things, right, Glenn?
Yeah, views,
right? Glenn?
Yeah, views and I guess like watch time. Those are pretty much like the two of them that matter the most. And I was like, there's a lot of people too that when I first started doing like Merch Minds and talking to merch, like there's a lot of people that really didn't even care because it had nothing to do with shoes.
Yeah,
and they were just
like, yeah, well, a lot of people wouldn't even watch. They're just like, man, I don't even like those videos. Even when I go to meetups, they're like, I just skip over those videos. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm still gonna make them. And
at the end of the day, look, regardless, whenever you put yourself in a position like that, and just again, and I'm no expert, but I've learned doing this podcast, and this is for both of you. Like whenever you put yourself in put yourself out there to the public, you're always gonna have haters. Like regardless of what you do and how nice you are, and like if you save someone from dying, right? Someone's always going to talk shit. That's just what I learned, and at this point, I just don't care.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so I actually enjoy it, right? Like, I think it's hilarious. My favorite thing about my YouTube channel is I have people that are subscribed literally just so they can go and put a thumbs down as soon as I release a video. Like, it happens every single time. Every time, like I get a bunch of.
Let's share our numbers. Nothing's really changed, at least not for me. So what are you guys doing in the meantime to either fix that, or are you guys working on something else?
This is something that's actually real. So I'm on that. We've spent a lot of time over the last couple of days working on some designs specifically for those markets, and doing research to get ready for it. But I've talked about this publicly. Really, my focus, I'm just getting all of that stuff ready, getting the research done, everything else. My wife's going to take over from the design side. My focus is entirely on local merch. I want to build a business that can control, that's not dependent upon merch, turning on, turning off traffic, anything else. So that's entirely my focus. I spent the entire day today while I was working, listening to different podcasts, just trying to come up with some ideas about marketing and come up with ideas about how to generate leads and generate a funnel so I can automate a lot of this process. So I'm just working on, signing these people, working on the business side of it, not working on going out there and finding these people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So speaking of marketing, I know when you first came onto the scene, Matt, you were like really well known on you were like the person who is like the expert, and I don't know. I feel kind of weird calling you guys like experts or gurus, because I know some people just don't like that title. But you were like the go-to guy as far as the AMS ads, as far as, you know, because I think you taught a bunch of us on how to do AMS ads. Do you?
No. Well, I mean, so I spent a lot of time like learning AMS, the backside of it, everything else. I have one ad running right now in AMS because I can't run sponsored product ads. So the way that I run my ads, I think a lot of people look at AMS the wrong way. They look at it as like a la carte pieces that like you can run a sponsored product ads, but maybe you should run a display ad, maybe you want to run a headline ad, whatever, right? In reality, all that stuff works together, and you need the sponsored product ads to be able to run the other stuff properly. It just kind of all creates a funnel that works towards, you know, setting up the other ads. So I've only got literally like one ad running right now, and it's an ad I've had running for a long time just because it converts really, really well. It converts at a really low ACoS. If you're doing AMS, you have to manage it constantly. You have to sign into the dashboard multiple times during a day, check your bids, check how much money you're spending, see what's going on. So I don't miss that at all. I do miss sponsored product ads because they worked when you knew how to work them. So hopefully at some point they're going to come back. I know that Merch talked to us about that when we were in Vegas. They said that they were working on a solution for us for advertising, because I think it's important. If you're going to be doing merch on Amazon, you have to figure out a way to get your stuff seen.
Yeah, and we talked about that on your guys' show, right? On how to drive traffic.
So, I mean, my focus now, I'll be honest with you, even if they come back, I may run them just as something that's kind of, you know, low maintenance, not a lot of effort, low cost, that can drive some views and drive some clicks. My focus is more on audience building in general, right? So audience building for local merch, audience building for our Etsy shop, and in turn with that audience being able to maybe possibly down the road turn some of that traffic onto Amazon, onto merch to kind of spark the algorithm. That's my entire focus. I think that's where people should be focused if they want to be in this business long term, right? Like you want to be focused on something you can control.
Cool.
Totally.
Glenn, did you have any questions?
Yeah, a question for RJ. Like, so it's been a while that I think interviewed like quite a bit of months already. But I think when we did interview, you're telling us about like you had hired some people to do certain things where like designs. You pretty much had like how many people working for you? Like maybe like 3 or 4 at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do you have more people working for you, less, or why did it change?
Let's see. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So
just to see what it's like, right? So I opened up an account and I went on there and I posted a job, right? And I offered a little more money than other people were offering, and I started getting all these applicants messaging me, right? And I swear, man, and Glenn, I don't know if it was you that I was telling to, or I don't know if it was you, RJ, behind the scenes, but it's like 95% of the applicants that were graphic designers, man. It was all freaking clip art stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, how are you like? So just out of curiosity, like, how did you go about finding those the ones that had a decent portfolio? I would say, hey, let's set up an interview. They don't even respond.
Yeah.
There's one at I think it was like Behance.net. That's the one, right?
Behance.net.
Yeah.
About interviewing them because the stuff that I got was just horrible. And there's one chick even submitted some designs that I've seen. They're like pre-made designs, you know, and you see the ads all the time. I can't remember the name on the top of my head. She's claiming that those were hers. I'm like, these aren't your ads all the time.
Oh man,
you just gotta do. Go ahead. No, I was
just gonna ask your like backstory is like when you started, and what is, I guess, you know, since then.
So when it started, it was just me and my wife, right? Like, so my wife is an interior designer by trade, and that's how she knew how to use Photoshop and everything else. And she'd done some stuff with like SketchUp and other design programs. And so just as a kind of like a whim, she had started up an Etsy shop 2 years ago. And it was because all of her family members were hitting up for like graphic design, for like invitations, cards, that kind of thing. Sure. So she started doing some stuff on Etsy. And we got married last year in April, and we were just looking for a way to kind of pay off some of the debt from the marriage. And that's where I kind of started looking into some online stuff, looking at FBA, looking at eBay, looking at, you know, and that's how I found merch. And I was just like, well, this is like a perfect fit. Like, you were looking to do some graphic design work already. You know, we just have to upload the stuff. We don't have to put money out. Like, we're trying to pay down debt anyway. So that sounds like a win-win. You just throw the shirt up there and it sells, right? Like that's the way it's supposed to work. So that's kind of how we got started on it. And a little bit to our detriment, that's kind of what we stuck with for the last, almost the first year, where it was me and her, right? Like on top of everything else we're doing and trying to scale the business, she'd design, I would upload, and that's the way we would do it. And we finally bit the bullet at the beginning of this year and hired a couple people to the team to kind of help us out. So we have 2 illustrators that work for us. I have another girl that was working for us to help upload to Amazon. I've actually moved her over to Etsy full time. She's doing work on the Etsy side to manage that shop. I'm doing all the work on Amazon stuff. But I think, this is something that me and RJ talk about all the time. Like, if you're really going to build a business and be able to have something that makes a lot of money for you, you can't be the thing in your business that holds it back. You can't be the thing that like locks everything up. That's the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's like a very important thing, I think.
Up and looked at places like Online's Job PH, but it's discouraging because, again, like I said, I mean, the stuff that they sent me was just, it was almost like grade school art stuff, man. And then, like I said, and the people that had the half decent portfolio, they don't even respond. It's like they'll message you and then you message them back and then
send me your ad copy, Yong, and I'll look it over and I'll share your mind. Like, so here's the thing with online jobs, like you get a ton of applicants, right?
Yeah. I got about 50.
Yeah, you get a ton. It's really easy to weed them out though, because you like who actually read your ad and who's just submitting crap every time they see an ad pop up, right? So put a little question in your ad copy that they have to put a response in the subject line for, right? So to make sure that they actually read it. And if that's not there in the subject line, don't even bother. Just move on. Because that person can't follow instructions. It's not worth wasting your time.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of talent on there. There's a lot of talent on there. You just have to sort through to get to it.
Man, the stuff that I saw, so like I was just discouraged. That's why I was just telling you guys, on your guys' show, man, look, F all that. I'm just going to go back to what I've been preaching all day since day one and just go to the local university, man. You can hire these students.
That's a good idea too, man. Like, yeah, that's the other thing too, is like those people, they're already in the United States. They understand like copyright, all of that stuff, right? Stuff that you're going to have to explain. They're also going to have a better idea of like what an American's going to be shopping for versus a Filipino. Like that's a lot of the work when you have a designer, when you first start out, is explaining like, you don't need to make every design orange. Like orange is not a really popular color. I swear to God, like every Filipino designer I've ever worked with, like they want to put orange in the design.
You start outsourcing some of your stuff.
I don't know. My brother was helping me for a bit, and then after I got suspended, I didn't even like try outsourcing after that. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to really look into it and see. I guess one of the things that I was gonna ask or bring up to you was like, so when we were on their show, remember I was telling you that you brought on Penji, your numbers haven't increased, but I wasn't like trying to like diss on Penji for that case. But I think as far as your design background, you had clever ideas. You knew, I mean, everything that was going on, like you said before, you've already proven it. Like you have low designs and you're making really good money. So I guess my question would be even to you is like, would you go back to even yourself designing? Do you think that would help bring the numbers back up? Because you've already found success with that.
No. Well, here's the thing. No, and I've said this on the show, right? On a couple of days ago on their show, like I'm no longer going to design at the moment because I'm driving myself crazy to the point where I'm balancing other projects, and at the same time I'm designing and I'm uploading, but there's no sales, right? Like when we did our 7-day numbers on your guys' show, my numbers have tanked, right? So it's like, what's the whole purpose of designing when nothing's selling? So I'd rather just have Penji do my stuff for the moment, right? And look, whether you like them or not, look, I like them. Glenn, I showed you some of their work that they're doing for me behind the scenes. I think is legit. And so I have them doing my stuff at the moment, and I'm just focusing on other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so there's 2 ways to get like return on investment, right? Like you can either get return on investment on your money, so you can like spend money for somebody to do work for you, or return on your time. So like basically you can put the time and the work in, right? At the end of the day, your time is limited. You can only have so much time, right? So money is really used to scale up a business, especially if you can find people in the Philippines, in Venezuela, wherever they are, where the dollar goes a lot further. And that's just the way I look at it. For me, this is a side hustle. I know for Glenn, this is a side hustle for you. For Yong, it is too. So it's like, how do I maximize my time which for me is the most valuable thing. Well, that's how I can build a team some way, and even though they're not as good as I am, right? Like they're not as good maybe at research, or they're not as good at design as my wife is. If it's like 85 to 90% or even 75%, right? At scale, at a large enough number, that kind of makes up for everything.
I will say this, look, and if you guys go back and listen to the earlier shows, right? Like the whole joke in the community with me was I couldn't get out of the 1,000 tier, right?
Right.
For the life of me, I could not break the 1,000 tier, but I still found success, right? I had like 300 shirts. And I was doing $3,000 a month, and people were going nuts because my ratio was just through the roof. And just to prove my point, I now, I have more shirts than I've ever had at this point, and nothing's selling. My numbers tanked. So I'd rather focus on other things. Like I think I am at some point here in the next few weeks going to hire a VA to do some administrative stuff. Okay, because for the life of me, again, I can't find a decent designer. They're doing stupid stuff over there. No disrespect to the Philippines, but at least he's gone through the whole process of finding the right designer.
And you can't do that?
I can't, but again, I just don't have the time. And like I said, do it for someone, and there's no communication. What's the whole point?
So what that is, that's more of like, that's their identification thing, right? To prove that it's actually a real person that's applying for the job. So I actually put that way down because I want more applicants, because I'm going to be able to grade that out based upon like what their response is and how they respond to the email. So I want responses as possible. I'll funnel it down. It requires some work. It's a lot more work than like Free Up or even Upwork. But I've had better luck.
Okay. How are you guys doing your research?
Top secret.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that, Yong.
What's the whole point of doing this show then?
There's demand. Where are people like buying stuff? So, think about things for like the holidays, think about like back to school, so seasonal trends, and then also figure out how you can combine that with other things that people are interested in. So like dogs, cats, unicorns, teachers, whatever, right? Like there's so many ideas. It boggles my mind when people talk about how like, well, I don't know what to design for. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, go walk outside your door. Yeah. Look around. The thing with research is you need to be designing for things that people want, not the things that you want, right? Like I think people on merch, like they throw up a bunch of designs because this is really cool. I like it. I would buy this. Nobody fucking cares. Like design for something that like somebody else wants. That's what they're going to buy.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Because, I might be into something completely different than the general public. And, it's the general public. They're the ones that's going to tell you what the market is, right? I guess there's ways to do research. There's, I heard people talk about Chrome extension. So, that's something that I'm not going to really discuss. But if you guys are interested, you can definitely go that route as well.
You know what, man? Like, and I said this in the newsletter. Like, I talk about it all the time. Like, Merch Informer, man, it just makes it so freaking easy. It makes it so easy. Like, especially when you understand how Merch Informer works and you actually use it the way that it's supposed to be. Use the favorites, use all that stuff. You use it all together. It's really, really like it makes it super easy. Your keyword data is all right there. Like, you can see how many results there are. You can see how they trend, how many sales they've had in the last 60 to 90 days. Like, I don't know. I made a video about it, and like it was like people had no idea that you could do any of the stuff that I was doing it. And I'm like, this is all from the very beginning. Like if you guys just watch Neil's videos on the Merch Informer channel, that's how I learned this. It's not like I'm some freaking genius that put it all together. Neil's the one that figured this shit out.
Yeah, right. No, I think you bring up a good point because he does have like a library of videos we can log in, but for some reason people don't watch it. And then when they subscribe, they get frustrated because they're like, I'm not getting the results that I want. And you're like, well, have you watched the videos?
Right.
Well, go watch the videos.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like I get frustrated. Like
they will not try. Like literally, just go to the Google machine and type in your question first. Start there. Like they go to the Facebook group, just answer, ask whatever's on their mind.
Yeah.
But and you can tell, like, I'm sure you can tell in your group or when you interact with people, like who's going to be successful and who's not. Like the ones that are not asking the stupid questions, that like they'll ask a detailed question or they try and help people out right off the bat. More often than not, those are the ones that are actually going to have some success on the platform.
Yeah.
Or like the ones like, I'm interested in merch. How do I start?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask Glenn. Do you get that in the eBay too? Like, is it the same over there where people are just like, "Well, what do I do?"
Yeah, oh, it's like that all the time. It's even especially when it comes to like, flipping shoes and things like that. Like, man, I just watched your video. Super interested in what store should I go to first? Or like been there like 2 years ago that technically I almost have to like almost refresh them because they get lost in there and then people aren't gonna watch the old ones. But yeah, you get like the same technically. Well, those questions and the detailed ones, which those make more sense. You can help them out, go into details, but the beginner ones, it's like those are there. Those answers are already.
Oh man, but I tell you what though, man, I prefer the merch community over the reselling community any day though, man, because that reselling community is just cutthroat, man. They just, dude, you answer if you like honestly like ask a simple question because you don't know, right? They will freaking rip you apart. They'll talk about your mom. They'll threaten your dog. Oh, they'll do all kinds of crazy stuff.
It feel like Reddit or what?
Oh yeah, it's nuts over there, man.
I don't know. That Reddit merch community is something else.
But you know what? Neil brought up. Speaking of Neil, dude, we should have had him on the show. We brought up his name so many times. He brought up a good point though. It's not Reddit.
Yeah.
It's the me on Reddit. That's just really stupid.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm talking about
the show, right? See, I don't do that, right? Because, again, like I said, I understand a lot of people are new. Sometimes, honestly, they just, as stupid as they may sound, they just don't know, right? Yeah. So I don't, I just, it's a free-for-all. They can ask whatever they want, and I just kind of monitor it, based on that. And if people get out of control, I step in and, try and make things a little calmer. But, yeah, I mean, I think people honestly, sometimes, even though I see the same questions over and over again, I'll let that through because again, they just don't know. Yeah, I mean, if they weren't that lazy, they can obviously go on Google themselves and search it, but I don't know.
So my thing is like, there's a search function in Facebook, right? Like
there is, and people don't realize that.
They never use it. So, however, kind of like YouTube search function doesn't work the greatest at times. Search function works a lot worse. So if it wasn't something that was fairly recent, it's really hard to find the answer sometimes. So I have some sympathy. One of the things that we had to do like a couple months ago, because our group got to a certain size, is we had to start really policing it because we were getting a ton of spam in, but also we were getting like questions like instantly. Somebody would ask a question, we'd approve it, and people would be like jerks. You know what I mean? Instantly, like just. And that's not the vibe we want to have on there, right? Like we try really hard to have it be a positive place, be a place that we have some fun. If you do something really stupid, might make a comment about it, right? But it's not because I'm not going to call you an asshole or make you feel like you're a horrible piece of crap. So that's part of the reason why we had the approved post thing, because otherwise it gets out of control.
Well, this is what we started doing. This was we got this idea from Anthony. Mm-hmm. He was saying start collecting email addresses because at one point it got so bad because we weren't doing any of that, right? Like we would approve anyone and everyone, and anyone can post anything. Well, oh my gosh! About a year ago, it got to the point where it was like a fucking Craigslist. A Facebook group, and people, I need money, buy this. And I remember this one chick, she was almost half naked, right? Posting stuff and stuff.
Is that your girl, RJ?
It probably was his girl saying, "Hey, can you send me some money?" and this and that. And it just got out of control. So, and when we met Anthony in Seattle last year, he was saying, "Dude," he goes, "start collecting. This is not just for internet marketing, but it validates that they're a real person."
Yeah.
Right. If they don't do that, don't accept them, and it's gotten much better. Every now and then, they kind of get through the filter, but that's really helped out a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Particular person, because I noticed the last couple of days they were making some weird comments. It made no sense. Like this person was being. I asked, and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys know this person? What are they about?" And you guys were like, "Yeah, that person's
they got axed from our group. Yeah, they got axed from our group a long time before they got from yours. So,
So, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work managing a Facebook group. no, I love the interaction with members and in the community.
Right.
Yong's even better in person though.
Yong is better in person for sure.
Oh man, I love it, man. I the whole like I've said it, man. Like I can learn stuff from someone who's on the tent here and someone who's not even on merch. I just love the whole interaction part, man. There's a good reason why I always spend my own personal money and go places and meet up with people that do merch because I love it, man. Like I can learn so much.
You never know what somebody knows, right? Like just because somebody's on like the 25 tier in merch doesn't mean that they have 4 or 5 Etsy shops that's crushing it. I talked to a guy last night that crushes Etsy. And he's just like starting to get into merch. He was asking me some questions or whatever. He was referred by somebody I knew, so I knew he was legit. But it's like you never know. Like just if your impression of somebody is what their success on merch is, how person they are, you're looking at it wrong because you never know.
Yeah. So I know you guys asked me about the whole Amazon Printful integration on Wednesday. Have you guys thought about doing that? Are you guys doing it?
I've thought about it, especially with fourth quarter. But God, man, I got so much on my plate. That's the thing too, right? Like I wrote about it. I wrote about it in our newsletter this week. You got to figure out like what game you're playing and what's actually moving the ball down the field, actually getting you results. And that's where your focus has to be. Like if you try and do everything, you're not going to get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Bo said too. Bo was like, how come we don't upload your designs on other platforms? I like that spot.
Dude, Skillshare is the bomb, dude. Because it's you pay like a low monthly fee and you can watch every freaking course that's in the library, right? That's where I learned how to do Shopify about 1.5 years ago. And I'm one of those guys. I completely forgotten, right? This guy that we interviewed, because we were interviewing him, and we were talking behind the scenes, and he goes, "Hey man, I can just give you access to my Skillshare account, and you can just there's a good course on there." And I was like, "Oh man, I already have a Skillshare account. How come I didn't think about doing that?" But yeah,
I forgot about that spot, that place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Matt, is Erin still doing most of the designs?
It's a mixture. So she's doing a lot of the other guys that we have that are working for us. They're doing a lot of the actual artwork. So we do a lot of just original artwork for ourselves now, which takes longer, but it's a one way to really differentiate yourself from the rest of your competition. I have 2 really, really talented designers that like they can just do anything basically. So, but my wife will take that and then she'll add sayings into it, add typography or whatever, mix and match, do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking about hiring a designer at some point. The other thing too is like not only we do merch, we have 2 Etsy shops. We're talking about doing a 3rd Etsy shop that's more like home furnishing type stuff, not apparel. So it would be nice to have somebody that can help with that.
Cool. Glenn, what's going on with your Etsy store?
Anything on Etsy?
No.
What did we just say about focusing and
20 other projects? What?
And YouTube?
Man, come on, man. Whatever. No, but seriously.
It's an extra project, Young. Pushing it right now.
I'm just saying.
All right. I'll put it in the back burner.
I'm just saying. But speaking of all that, I know Glenn had mentioned possibly doing FBA during Q4. Do you guys resell at all?
I don't anymore. I know RJ did quite a bit in the past, but I don't think he's doing it anymore either. You were talking about getting into drop shipping at some point. Are you thinking about doing that still?
I'm not even sure. I don't even know at this point right now.
Well, technically you are.
I found that a lot of designers are great at taking something and changing the font a little bit or making it look a little bit better, but they're not great at coming up with like their own original ideas. It's really rare when you can say, "Hey, take this idea and I want you to make something completely different, but still has some of those elements." Like they have a hard time with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's I'm one of those guys. I'll say it's not easy to be creative, but at the same time, it is easy at some time, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of comes and goes. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. But I think overall, I think most of us have a creativity side. if you really just sit and just try and think about what you want to do and just apply it, I think most of us can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, like all of us that are in this right now, right? Like we're creative anyways. That we talk and everything else. Like we have no problem holding a conversation about pretty much anything. So that all pays off. Like it's just the ability to be able to put two different ideas together and find something new.
What tier are you on again, Matt?
We're 6K.
6K. Are you guys close to being tiered up?
Well, we probably will be fairly shortly. But we've got the sales for 12K. It's just we got the same problem as you. It's just getting up, getting stuff up.
Yeah.
And then we hadn't uploaded since the beginning of June.
That's yeah.
So
I remember you saying that.
We lost over almost 2,000 shirts had fallen off our account. So we're starting in the process of re-uploading those right now.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that. I'm like, do you guys re-upload?
Yeah, I mean the non-haul
since
right.
What's the whole point of having them on your hard drive if you're not going to upload it?
Right.
I'm uploading as we go.
So
now you're uploading. Okay.
I have a.
I talked to Jacob Bates. And I thought about it. In fact, he's the one that told me, dude, he's the one of the guys, that I talked to. He was telling me to just check out Online's Job PH.
Yeah.
And I talked about it, and maybe I should at some reach out to him again. I thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought about it just in terms of like for scale, right? Like just as an easy way to add on some stuff really, really quickly. I know a little bit about Matt Carlett's process in terms of what's not just shit thrown against a wall. There's actually research. So yeah, it's something I've thought about a little bit too. Like Matt's a great interview. That guy.
Yeah. No, he knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff. He's real sharp.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm open to trying them out. What about you?
I think it might take me even longer to try to figure out, even though they're simple. Maybe just so used to like Illustrator and shortcuts and all of that. Like I think sometimes just trying to learn something like real basic might take me a while. I just figured like I already know this program. I could kind of like what RJ was saying, like you can really knock out, especially knowing the shortcuts and all that. Like especially with pop sockets, like when I just sat there for an hour, I know I could just knock out a bunch of them because they're so simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you got to upload.
It's so hard to sort through. Like if you're trying to edit things, like the fact that we have to use tools like merch tools and pretty merch and stuff to be able to get around things is a gigantic pain in the ass. And then just uploading things, right? Can't you set it up so I can put in a number, say I want to open up 50 tabs, and it just does it for us? I don't understand why we have to do all this stuff manually. There's so many workarounds you have to do to be able to like be efficient when you're uploading.
I mean, I think when we met them in Vegas and we had that conversation, I think they understand that they're still going through the whole growing pains because we saw the frustration in Miguel. So I think they understand going through, but at the same time, I think they're trying to grow as a company, and there's only so much they can do. And I think right now their focus is on going international and the collab.
Yeah. I mean, I think collab is definitely a big part of their focus.
Yeah. Speaking of collab, one thing I will say about that. I mean, I know we're not really supposed to talk about it, but this is just in general. And I was telling this to Glenn. I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
So the other day, man, I was because I think almost everyone knows that I've been approved for collab. Man, I went on Shane Dawson's channel to try get like a catchphrase or something because I've never watched this channel before. Like I don't know what the guy's about.
How'd that go for you?
I couldn't do it, man.
So we're in it too, and we've kind of had the same problem, right? Like just finding something that resonates so that like I feel an attachment to and that I really want it for, I think is important if you're going to do something that's really good and stands out, right? And we haven't found that yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and watch any more videos of his, man. It was a huge time suck, man. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. So, cool, man. But you guys working on other things? I know you guys. So talk about your newsletter. I know that's relatively new. It's really good, and I encourage everyone to sign up.
Yeah, so we've been doing it for like 5 weeks. It's something me and RJ have been talking about for a while, right? So it's just kind of a way for us to, because people interact with different ways, right? Some people like to watch videos, some people like podcasts, some people like to read, right? And it's all about like how you can better utilize your time. For me personally, like I make videos, but it's not like my favorite thing to do. Every video I do is either it's something I shoot really quickly and I don't think about it and I just get it over with, or I do like 15 takes and it takes up like 4 or 5 hours. It's like 4 or 5 hours. It's super annoying.
No, exactly.
These emails that we've been collecting, right? And like, why don't we just start putting the information out there? Because the other part that was kind of pissing us off is people were selling the stuff that we're giving away for free and charging the community for it. I was just tired of it. So I'm like, I'm just going to put something out that's kick-ass, that's really good, that's free, that people can interact with, and they're going to know where the information comes from. You know, and then RJ is, you know, helping us with like doing videos for the audience and ideas and everything else, because RJ doesn't like to write.
Yeah, no, we're talking about that. He was saying that he doesn't like to write as much. Yeah, so I'm like you in the sense that I like to write.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess technically I have a YouTube channel. You know, back when I was doing selling. In fact, someone just asked me this the other day. Yeah, someone asked me on Wednesday, because right before we did your show, I was on a reselling channel. This is Mo Glenn, by the way. I was on his channel. And one of the guys that was there, they're like, "Hey, how come you do YouTube videos?" And I was like, "Well, I guess technically I do, but I'm just like you in the sense, Matt, where you know, I'll do like 15 takes, right? And then I'm like Glenn in the sense that, well, if I do a video, like I want the editing to be on point, right? Like if you watch Glenn's video, like I mean, music and you know the fades in and the fade out, like everything's on point. Like I would want to do that. And like editing a freaking 10 minutes, like 2 hours, I'm like, that's
right. It's easier to get my thoughts out and to kind of put them in a structure that's easy to understand. So we have some cool things planned out that we're thinking about doing with the newsletter, like some exclusive like Q&A stuff. So you know, having doing a Zoom session where people can do, you know, a Q&A with us, everything else. So this is just kind of the beginning.
Yeah, no. Again, where can people go and sign up?
Merchnews.email. So just merchnews.email.
Cool. Merchnews.email. Cool, man. You know, I think that was a great show. RJ, any final words?
Make a video for the Crate Space, how you upload a journal for me.
Hopefully that will maybe encourage you guys to create a diverse.
Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.